G'day buddies, Jackaro Toro here, and on this channel I focus on Australian Aborigines, their languages, cultures, history, and so on. And this is another video about Australian Aboriginal kinship systems. And more specifically, this is another take on the Kariera system. This figure here comes from Harold Scheffler's book, Australian Kin Classification, but we don't have the Kariyarra terminology here. Instead, this is the Marringarr terminology, the Marringarr language being a language of Australia's Northern Territory, a Western Daily language that is undergoing revitalization right now, a revitalization attempt, at least, because the speakers of Marringarr have for the most part switched to the Morinpata language. So, when trying to explain the idea behind the Kariyarra system, Scheffler does not use Kariyarra terminology. Why not? Why does he choose Marringarr instead, the Marringarr terminology? Well, you see, Alfred Radcliffe Brown, that wrote about Kariyarra, he has some contradicting claims in his articles. And some of the things that he writes about the Kariyarra tribe, for example in this article, 3 Tribes of Western Australia from 1913, some of these claims are clearly wrong. Someone with only a shallow understanding of the Kariyarra system of social organization can see that these things are clearly wrong. Radcliffe Brown, he studied this carefully. So why did he write things that are wrong? Well, we don't know. We can't very well go and ask him because he died in 1955. So Scheffler instead then uses the Marringarr terminology, which he has taken from a book by a Norwegian anthropologist Johannes Falkenberg from 1962. A book that, as I understand it, became an instant classic. So, one main difference, if this looks messy by the way, we are going to try to make sense of it. One main difference from Kariyarra terminology is that there are only 2 grandparent terms here. As you can see, Jananga, a parallel grandparent, and Tamie, a cross grandparent. And these terms mean both grandparent and grandchild, as you can see down here. So this is based on a male perspective. We have a male ego here in the middle of the figure, and Ngawe means brother, and he has his sister over here, Naga. The Z or Z stands for sister, since S here stands for son in these abbreviations. So, in Aboriginal Australia, people are divided into 2 sexes, male and female, and the one sex marries the other. That is not to say that all men got married traditionally. I do think that all women or girls got married off. But you see that the fact is that when a man was promised a girl, he was also at the same time promised her younger sisters, if she had any such younger sisters, unless he chose to give up younger sisters to a younger brother of his own. So that meant that all men could not get married, but I do think that all women and girls were married off. Now, this is of course provocative for some people these days. The idea that reality and people is divided into two sexes. And if you feel provoked by this, feel free to turn off the video. But anyway, back to this figure here. We have an ego here who takes a wife. And the whole idea behind this system is that each couple get 2 kids that survive into adulthood, a boy and a girl, and that there are cross-cousin marriages. Because if we look at this here, we could start here, why don't we, with father and mother. By the way, in Australian kin classification, Scheffler writes both itta and ita for father. I would assume that one of these is correct and that the other one is wrong. But since I have not read Falkenberg, I cannot tell which is which. So anyway, we have the father here, who is the son of these 2. He marries mother, who in this system is supposed to be his cross-cousin. See the video I did earlier about cross and parallel cousins. So, if we look at the generation above here, we have father's father and father's father's sister, who is the mother of the mother, so mother's mother. And we have father's mother, who has a brother who is married to father's father's sister. So these are cross-cousins. And when Ego and his brother marry, they marry a cross-cousin as well. These abbreviations here stand for mother's brother's child and father's sister's child. That is the whole idea behind the system. By the way, in the Marringarr language, there are different terms for a woman's daughter, small w, woman, once again very provocative for some, woman's daughter, mologo, and woman's son, mago. While for some reason there is only one term that means man's child, nea. Yes, so this is the whole idea. And there are no in-law terms. So there is no father-in-law term or mother-in-law. Rather, when you have got married, you will refer to your wife's father as mother's brother, and to your wife's mother as father's sister. But, as I have also indicated in earlier videos, in most tribes that use the Kariera system of social organization, people were not and are not, in fact, allowed to marry a real cross-cousin. In the Kariera tribe, And in other neighboring tribes along the coast of Western Australia, cross-cousin marriages were very common. But in most other tribes they were not, which means that you need to keep this system of social organization distinct from the marriage rules. This is something that Radcliffe Brown, who did fieldwork along the western coast of Australia, did not himself realize, but this has been realized later. So then, in most cases, you do not marry your cross-cousin, but someone who is much more distantly related. But once you have got married, that person is treated as your cross-cousin, which is reflected in the terms you use within this system. But this is, of course, the ideal system. Reality is, of course, messier than this. For one thing, all couples do not have one son and one daughter that survive into adulthood. And as I said, in most cases you are not allowed to marry a cross-cousin anyway. So I think I will have reason to get back to more real-life complications. But anyway, this is the idea behind the system. And I think this will be all for today. So, see you later.